Hello, spider friends. We're here in the shed to discuss toxic people. Over the years, I have gotten rid of several toxic people who were part of my life and are no longer. And recently got rid of another one. So I wanted to talk about toxic people. My pussycat is here. I wanted to talk about toxic people and why it's okay to cut people out of your life. I know it can be really difficult. You might have been friends with someone for years and years. You might have multiple mutual friends. You might have got like a really long history with them, so cutting them out of your life becomes really difficult and awkward, but it's okay to do it. If someone's hurting you, you can cut them out of your life and you shouldn't feel bad about it. So I want to talk about the first toxic person that I ever cut out of my life. I now have two pussycats in here. So the first person who was I actively cut out of my life because they were toxic, we will call her Lolly, and I shall tell you the tale of what the final straw was. I had been friends with Lolly in school, like peripherally we were friends. We shared a couple of the same lessons and we shared a couple of same friends, but we didn't really become real friends until we left school, and then we actually did become like friends. She came and started hanging around with my friends. She was into the same kind of music that I was into, so like over the course of like leaving school, we became friends, and she did a number of really horrible things to me. Do you mind? I'm trying to make a video. One of the things that she did, which wasn't even the final straw, but it's part of the story, is that like my first proper boyfriend, who, you know, I was 18, so I was completely in love with him, even though, like, you know, we weren't actually going out that long. After we'd broken up, she went out with him. She was supposed to be like my best friend, and she went out with the boy that I really, really liked. So this is sort of the beginning of the story. Me and her had planned to go to a System of a Down concert. Her dad was going to drive us to Nottingham, and we were going to go to see System of a Down. And then she started going out with my ex-boyfriend. So she bought a ticket for him to go to the concert. And I was like, okay, I suppose we're doing this. So we had 3 tickets to the concert. One was bought slightly later, but there were 3 seats close together. Then she broke up with my ex-boyfriend, started going out with a new boyfriend who we will call Scott. And Scott had a car, so Scott was then going to drive us to the concert, but she'd already promised the 3rd ticket to a different friend of ours who, what can we call her? We'll call her, we'll call the extra friend Marie. So she'd already promised the 3rd ticket to Marie, and the 3 of us were going to go as girls to the concert. Then she started going out with Scott, and she wanted Scott to drive us to the concert, so she bought a 4th ticket for Scott. So there'd been some tension and we'd started falling out a bit at this point. But this trip was what ended up causing me to cut her out of my life entirely, because she was so toxic. She would do things such as she would go around our friend group and say to one person, this person's been saying this about you. And then she'd go to that person, she'd say, that person's been saying this about you. In one instance, she phoned a friend of ours, we'll call Richard, and started saying like, oh, how are you, what you doing? And he was a bit busy, so he said, I'll phone you later. And then she phoned a different friend, we'll call Lindsay, and started saying to Lindsay, oh, I've just spoken to Richard on the phone. He's been slagging you off. And Richard was actually in Lindsay's house, which was why he was busy. So she was just like making up stuff. And she was generally just a horrible person to everyone. So we go on this trip and she says, now I have no idea of distances. We actually only live about 2 or 3 hours from Nottingham. It's not that far. But she'd arranged this trip because she'd got the tickets. And she said, right, well, we're going to go drive. We're going to go stay at this hotel somewhere in West Yorkshire. I'm going to meet my family who are from there, and then we're going to go to the concert the next day. So I thought that actually Nottingham was much, much, much further away than it actually was, because this was a very long time ago, and MapQuest was only just a thing. There was no like Google yet, and no like Google Maps or anything. So I had no way of like checking to see actually how far it was. So I'd said to Lolly, look, I don't have much money. I don't know if I can swing a hotel room for the night. And she was like, no, I found dead cheap one, dead cheap. And we got there and we went into this hotel and it wasn't dead cheap, and it basically wiped out all of my money apart from like £10, and that was all the money I had left. And I really, really wanted to get like a t-shirt from the tour. So my solution was just to keep this £10. This was the last of my money and wouldn't be able to afford to eat. So we spend the night in this really expensive hotel, and then the next day we drive to Nottingham, and we're walking around Nottingham, and Lolly and Scott say like, oh, we're hungry, and I'm like, oh, well, I've got no money. And Marie also was like, I've got no money either. And they were like, don't worry, we'll buy your food. So they went to McDonald's, and Lolly got a McDonald's, and Scott got a McDonald's, and Marie got a McDonald's. But I didn't. I was like, okay, right, okay, fair enough. Don't know why I'm being punished, but apparently I am. So we go to the concert, and they distribute the tickets, and I'll use this. Okay, so imagine this is the concert arena, and where the handles are is where the band is. Lolly, Scott and Marie had tickets. This was all open plan, and this was where the mosh pit was, and we had seated tickets, and they took the 3 tickets that were bought first, and they were here, and then they gave me the 4th ticket that had been bought last, and I was here on the very, very back row at the very, very back of the concert on my own at aged 18 in a city I'd never been to. So that was crap. And I made a friend there who was really nice to me. She was like, I'd told her about what had happened and my predicament, and I'd got my t-shirt, and she was so nice to me. Like, we're still friends now, like many years later. She'd bought me like a drink of Coke, and she'd bought me some crisps because it was an arena, so there wasn't really food. But she was like, I can't believe that they left you without any food. And I was like, you really don't have to pay for my food. I'll be okay. And she was like, no, like, I insist. So after the concert, I'm like, right, let me introduce you to my friends. And they couldn't get away fast enough. They were like, no, we want to go. So, like, we got in the car and we started driving away from Nottingham to drive back to where we live. And we stop at a services, and I go out to go to the toilet, and I come back to the car and they've locked all the car doors. I was trying the handle, and I'm like, let me in the car, and they weren't going to let me in the car. They were actually planning on leaving me at the services in the middle of nowhere. I had a phone, but this is like a very, very long time ago. It was a Motorola phone, and I didn't have any credit on it, so it wasn't like I could call someone. It was like a pay-as-you-go, the first kind of like Motorola pay-as-you-go phone that you could buy. That's what kind of phone it was. And I was like, started having a massive panic attack, because they were going to leave me at a services in the middle of nowhere. I had no idea where I was. My money was in the car with my stuff, with my bag, and they were just going to drive off. And her window was open, so I sort of like shoved my hand in and pulled open the door lock through the window and yanked the door open so I could then unlock the back passenger seat and get in the car. And Lolly was screaming at me the entire time, like, because I had apparently like offended her about something, because like I didn't appreciate like the nice hotel that she'd arranged for us to stay in. So Scott said, "Oh, I wasn't really gonna leave you there. I was like, F off, you kind of were." So all the way drive home, like another 2 hours, it was completely silent. Neither Scott nor Marie nor Lolly would speak a word to me in like the 2 or 3 hour drive that remained after stopping at the services. And Lolly cried all the way back as well, because she was upset with me, because of the hotel, and because Marie had stolen a towel from the hotel, and her family had gotten a phone call about it because the hotel was in like the village that her family lived in. So she was really, really annoyed, and I was getting the blame for Marie stealing the towel. Somehow it had become my idea. So at that point I was like, alright, well, I'm already aware of her going around and scraping mud around everyone's backs, and she's been treating me really crappily. I'm just going to cut her out of my life. I can't take this toxic person anymore. So it was very, very hard, because we had a lot of mixed friends, and essentially because I stopped speaking to Lolly, I ended up losing like another 3 friends through it. No, another 4 friends through it. Basically, I ended up having to just lose that friendship group entirely, because of her toxicity. Like, some of us like remained friends who knew her, like Lindsay and Richard, still friends now. I still occasionally talk to Marie. She's calmed down a lot from where she was, but Lolly, I could never forgive her for what she tried to do, which was, she was a very manipulative person, and I think it was probably her idea, the idea of let's leave her behind at the services, it'll be really funny. And I genuinely believe that if I hadn't fought to get the car door open, they would have driven away and left me in the middle of nowhere and like taking all my stuff with them. So yeah, that was the first toxic person I cut out of my life, and it was extremely hard, and I lost a lot. But in the end, it was worth it because she was a completely horrible toxic person. And if you've got a toxic person in your life, you need to cut them out. You need to make the decision that your life is worth more without them in it.